track test is all about the Lexus RCF Track Edition, a lighter, sharper version of Lexus's V8 Coupe. I'll quickly run you through the specs, we'll hit the track to see how it performs and then set a lap time. Hit the time codes below if you want to skip ahead, and don't forget to like, subscribe and leave a comment with any cars you want to see us test. The heart of the RCF Track Edition is this 5-litre V8, which produces 351 kilowatts, 530 Newton meters, and revs to 7,500 RPM. There's an 8-speed automatic gearbox and a limited slip diff, while these are lightweight BBS 19-inch alloys with Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tyres, 255/35 front and 275/35 rear. Carbon ceramic brakes are actually standard. We've got 380mm discs at both ends with 6-piston calipers up front and 4 pistons at the rear. Finally, it's hard to miss those wings. They're more for reducing lift than actually increasing downforce, but the Track Edition is 65 kilograms lighter than a regular RCF thanks to the carbon bonnet and roof, those carbon brakes and a titanium exhaust. But what does all that mean out here? What better car to have on track than a Track Edition? Though it must be said that Lexus's version of Track Edition differs from most manufacturers. I've still got these big, cushy, electrically adjustable seats, Mark Levinson stereo, plenty of nice soft leather. I do have a manually adjustable steering column now though, so that probably saves a bit of weight. And that's the thing, despite Lexus's work, this thing's still a pretty big heavy car at 1,715 kilos. So, we'll see how it goes around these tight confines. There's a number of different drive modes to select from. I've got normal, sport and sport plus. I've gone for sport plus as seems the most obvious choice. The highlight of this car is undoubtedly its engine. This V8 is just a thing of great beauty and wonder. It's so sharp, especially in sport plus mode. In normal it can feel a bit doughy, a bit underwhelming, but like look how sharp that throttle is. You can see my head going back and forth as I go hit the throttle, and the noise it makes. Oh, pure V8 supercar. That's such a cliche, but if any car does actually sound like a V8 supercar, it's this one. It makes such a good noise. So I've got the ESP in Expert. Hit the ESP button once and it goes into expert mode, which makes you sound quite fancy, but hey, how about that? So apparently you have to be an expert because that's quite a lot of latitude. The ESP did flash then, but only at the very end, once I had about, I don't know, quarter turn, third of a turn of opposite lock-on. So that's good. Well done, Lexus. Let the driver have a bit of fun, but without letting them go too far astray. Oh, this thing sounds so good. Regular torque converter automatic, but really, really aggressive. Aggressive in its upshifts, crisp in its downshifts. There we go, gave me 6,500 RPM on the downshift. Damping in this car in Sport Plus is very firm though. You can probably see me hopping up and down over these bumps. I mean, this is a pretty smooth racetrack. Yeah, a bit of oversteer there. Look at this, again, this is electronics on, but it still needs plenty of correction. Okay, you're sort of getting the point of the RCF Track Edition. This is one of these cars that, in fact the RCF in general, I had one as a long-termer and it sounds like you're being really nice to Lexus, but it's a car that grows on you. Compared to like the M4 or the C63, you put it in a comparison test and it probably doesn't win, probably comes last. You can pick holes in it, but it's just an easy car to love. For instance, steering in this car, well weighted, nice and accurate, but pretty dead, especially around the straight ahead. So when you go for that initial turn in, you're like, oh, how much grip have I got here? It doesn't give you a lot of feedback, but you sort of key into it, get used to it, and yeah, it does the job. Likewise, the engine doesn't have the massive turbo torque of its rivals, however, it counters with awesomely sharp throttle response. and you can use more of the power more of the time because you're not managing traction all the time. Like if I was in an M4 on this track, I'd be gentle with the throttle to try and avoid wheel spin, whereas this, I can be aggressive, I can throw the car around, there we go, control the wheel spin, yeah! The other thing with this track edition is, it rotates a lot better than the standard RCF. I'm not quite sure why, whether it's geometry, whether it's the lighter wheels or something, but it actually has stronger front grip and rotates the car better. The regular RCF, you can sort of have to, the front gives up, you've got to wait for a bit, whereas this really nails the front end of the ground. Back to second. And because that front end is nailed to the ground, it makes the chassis more adjustable. You can really throw it into corners and not have to worry about pushing into understeer. There is still gentle understeer, obviously, if you just, really pitch it in, but if you're slightly sensible with your entry speeds, the front end grips, and then you can worry about getting out of the corner rather than getting into it. So, what I'm going to do is stop, hold the button, VSC off. I'm going to try a different drive mode too. So Sport Plus is super sharp, but it's also bumping quite a lot. So I'm going to go into custom mode, which I've got is Sport Engine, but still normal suspension. And this thing's still pretty firm. So let's see what it handles like. Definitely got a bit more body movement now. If you pick up the throttle too early, you get a bit of understeer as the nose lifts. So that's not an improvement. I'm going to go back into Sport Plus. There we go. But let's throw this thing around and see what it does. So, well, there we go. That's pretty good. Whoa, we're busy, we're busy, we're busy. This thing is fun. I mean, it's a pretty simple recipe. Woo! 351 kilowatt V8, rear wheel drive, limited slip diff. There we go. I know it's silly, it's not the fast way, but oh boy, is it the fun way. Back the other way, and there we go. Woo! This is so much fun. Oh man. That's the thing, as I said about the RCF, it's a grower. You can pick holes in it if you really, really want to. Oh, I wish the steering was a bit better. I wish it was a bit lighter, stuff like that. But essentially, it's just awesome fun. It is awesome, awesome fun. It's got all the ingredients you need, and this track edition is even better than the standard one. If I'm really going to nitpick, the diff could be a bit tighter. So, relevant consumer advice, but hey, this is a track test. So, the regular RCF had an electronically controlled diff. I remember you used to be able to change various modes like slalom and sport and things like that. Whereas this doesn't, because from memory, that electronic diff weighs quite a lot. So they've taken it out to reduce weight and left it with a regular mechanical diff. That's fine, but it almost feels a bit viscousy. The diffs they used to use, which would open wheel if there's too much pressure. They didn't have the force to lock up completely, and this feels a bit like that. If I just go, oh, there we go, we've picked up the inside wheel, won't spin both. So hopefully for Lexus's future models, either stick with the electronic diff or make the regular one tighter. But you just want to push in this car. Word for the brakes too. These carbon ceramics are brilliant. Early carbons particularly could be a bit weird in pedal feel, a bit all or nothing and a bit mushy. These are fantastic. I've got a really firm pedal, I've got great feel, I've got great feedback, no sense of fade, even with the weight of this car, and there you go. The diff's a bit inconsistent, but we just have to make sure we overload it properly. So you can just throw this thing around like an 86. Oh man, how good's rear wheel drive? Pitch it in, bit of throttle, round we go. Oh, didn't quite get the back out. There we go, turn it in, bit of throttle, get the back out. Woo, there we go. Back the other way, link the corner, bit of throttle, get the wheel spin, look after the tyres a little bit because we don't want to turn them into atoms. Oh, I love this thing, it's so much fun. We've got understeer, oversteer, back the other way. The chassis is adjustable. I just feel like I can throw it around without a care in the world. So, without further ado, let's stick the helmet on and go for a lap time. So the Track Edition wasn't necessarily the easiest car to get a lap time out of, but that time was pretty impressive and it was a hell of a lot of fun in the process. Sadly, this video is going to have to serve as a bit of an epitaph for the RCF, because as of November 1, Australia's new side impact regulations means the RC has to be discontinued. And that's a huge shame because it's a massively characterful car that absolutely puts a smile on your face, especially here on track. And that's why it gets a track score of 8.5 out of 10.